Gonna be better than Caitlin Clark. And when I say gonna be, I'm talking about very soon.
Paige Bueckers is better than Caitlin Clark. Knock it off.
I saw this post from Clutch Points. Paige Bueckers is having a better rookie season than Caitlin Clark. Nobody's talking about it. No, she's not.
There is no world in which Paige Bueckers is better than Caitlin Clark.
Paige, it's over 60-some rookie records Caitlin Clark set. Go get those and make the playoffs. Then we can talk.
I don't think it's a coincidence that people are trying to push this narrative in the same season where Caitlin Clark is shooting her worst and has been injured the most.
And there's media has been straight up lying to your face about Paige Bueckers for months, and it's honestly getting pathetic at this point. These so-called experts have been pushing this absolutely ridiculous fairy tale that somehow this Dallas Wings rookie is superior to Caitlin Clark in every single way imaginable. They're out here acting like Bueckers invented basketball while Clark was just some lucky player who stumbled into success. Well, guess what happened when they finally played head-to-head on July 13th? Clark absolutely demolished their fake narratives so hard that analysts are still scrambling to explain what just happened, probably having emergency meetings about how to spin this disaster. The silence from certain ESPN personalities has been deafening since this beatdown occurred. Trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how deep this media conspiracy goes, and how coordinated their effort has been to rewrite history.
Remember, Caitlin's in her second year, Paige is in her first year. These are their stats this year. And you see how similar they are. Both average 18, Caitlin 5 rebounds, Paige 4 rebounds. The main difference is in the assists. Basically 9 assists a game to 6. But Paige shooting better from the field and better from the 3.
They say that Paige is leading the league in assists, but she has actually played 6 games. Caitlin Clark has played 4 games. And if you look at their assists per game average, Caitlin Clark is averaging 9.3 assists per game. And I would imagine that goes up when she actually starts playing. She's averaging 9.3 assists per game, and Paige is averaging 6.7.
The Indiana Fever beat the Dallas Wings 102-83. Their teams went head to head, and these were their respective stats for the.
What happened when the two of them matched up against each other? It was a 30-point win with one player being the orchestrator of their team's success and the other player scoring a bunch of points in garbage time, so that they got their 21 points.
Prior to the Fever game, Paige Bueckers was playing terrible the last 3 games. Nobody talked about it. Why? Because y'all really don't care like that. Y'all only care when y'all trying to fake compare her to Caitlin. That's the facts. Paige Bueckers shot 5 of 20 the last game. Nobody talked about it. Nobody cared.
Insight on Paige Bueckers. It looks like she's playing in the WNBA pretty much the same way that she's played all throughout college. She has a solid all-around game, but her strength is definitely scoring. She'll get you some assists, some rebounds. She doesn't turn the ball over much. She has great shot selection and she's efficient. Paige Bueckers is safe. Say what you want about Caitlin Clark and her turnovers, but she's constantly trying to push the envelope. She is as confident in those turnovers as she is knocking down those 30-foot jumpers from beyond the arc. Caitlin Clark is constantly looking to make the right play, even if it means she makes mistakes along the way. Paige Bueckers plays as if she's constantly trying not to make the wrong play. That's the
propaganda campaign started the moment Bueckers got drafted first overall, and suddenly every talking head and their grandmother was acting like the media had discovered the next basketball messiah sent from heaven. Rebecca Lobo was practically writing poetry about Bueckers' readiness for the professional level. Meanwhile, the media completely ignored the mountain of evidence showing Clark's superior impact. Analysts went on television claiming Bueckers' game would translate better than Clark's, which is absolutely hilarious, considering Clark won Rookie of the Year and made the All-WNBA first team. Look, I'm not saying Bueckers is terrible. She's obviously talented and has legitimate skills that got her to this level. But the way the media has been covering her compared to Clark is so laughably biased. It's embarrassing to anyone with functioning eyeballs.
Is better than Paige Bueckers, and here's why.
Cat.
Why you say that? Go ahead.
I get it. Caitlin Clark has revolutionized the game, but Paige Bueckers is like Kyrie Irving, where her bag is phenomenal. She can do everything. She doesn't have to live and die by the 3. She's the whole package. She can facilitate. She can get to the rack. She got a bag that nobody can handle. She just won a national championship, something that Caitlin Clark did not do. When you look at it like that, Paige Bueckers is better than Caitlin Clark.
I disagree there. Now I'm going to talk about this, right, with Caitlin Clark. She was all WNBA first team as a rookie. That's immediate impact off the jump, right? The shooting prowess is just unmatched. She's going to just impact the game in like a Steph Curry fashion for women. We haven't seen anything like this. I do think she's the end all be all right now in terms of the new crop of superstars that's out in the WNBA.
Paige Bueckers, she'll become the best player in the league for sure. He's not the playmaker of Caitlin Clark, but she's a better pure scorer.
And she broke Caitlin's record for most All-Star votes for a rookie. So it's like when we were gassing up Caitlin for coming in as a rookie, breaking all them scoring records, Paige is doing the same thing. And it seems like her the adjustment period for her was quicker than Caitlin's. I just think it's crazy how like last year we go from everybody hyping up Caitlin. Well, we still do it, but everyone calling her Michael Jordan. It's her league to literally the next season there's a rookie who's just as good, if not better than her.
Caitlin Clark's more of a comet. But if you're talking about who's the better player, there's an argument Paige Bueckers will be the better player.
She's going to be the best player in the league one day. I didn't hear such things being said about Caitlin Clark last year. And you tell me on what planet there's an argument to be made. What is Paige Bueckers going to suddenly, or is she going to be the second bionic woman? Do we have the technology to put a bunch of equipment in her so that she'll be better than Caitlin Clark? You tell me where this is going to come from.
Making the argument that Paige Bueckers is the third best player in the WNBA. Like, if you're making that argument, you're an idiot. And let's not forget, the Fever were the 6th seed. Paige Bueckers has taken the wings from the dizzying heights of second last. From second last to the dizzying heights of second last.
Check. You're not going to lead your team to the playoffs or in the future lead your team to a title playing it safe. You got to be able to push the envelope. Now, I get it. She's a rookie, which is why I initially didn't want to have this conversation. But once this narrative started getting pushed, I had some things to say. Is she a rookie or is she better than Caitlin Clark? You can't have it both ways. Paige Bueckers is going to be great and her time will come. But is she better than Caitlin Clark?
The media has been using cherry-picked statistics and misleading records to prop up their golden girl while creating this false equivalency that never existed. Meanwhile, they conveniently ignore the fact that Clark did literally everything better, on a much harder schedule and under infinitely more pressure and scrutiny from day one. The audacity of comparing a decent rookie to the literal greatest rookie season in WNBA history is insulting to anyone who actually watched basketball last year instead of just reading box scores. While Bueckers was putting up her cute little numbers on a team that can't win games to save their lives, Clark was breaking every record in the book and doing things that had never been done before in league history. She dragged the Indiana Fever to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, while dealing with hostile crowds and cheap shots from veterans jealous of her success. But apparently, that doesn't matter to the narrative merchants at ESPN and other major outlets, who were too busy writing predetermined storylines about how Bueckers is more efficient, more well-rounded, and more ready for the professional level.
Caitlin Clark joined that same roster with Erica Wheeler, Aaliyah Boston, Katie Lou Samuelson, a bunch of players that y'all did not care for, a team that was terrible enough to have the #1 pick because they were trash, with Christy Sides as a head coach, and she took them to the playoffs immediately.
The team has won games without you. Like, the team has equally has almost as good a winning percentage without you.
The most infuriating part is how the media kept talking about Bueckers' efficiency, as if playing on a terrible team with zero expectations somehow makes her stats more impressive than Clark carrying an entire franchise on her back. The media would show graphics comparing their shooting percentages without mentioning that Clark gets double-teamed and face-guarded on every possession, while Bueckers plays in single coverage because teams are focused on stopping other players. It's like comparing someone's three-point percentage in an empty gym to someone shooting with 5 defenders draped all over them, and then acting like the gym shooter is more skilled.
Is not particularly efficient. She's not inefficient, but she's not particularly efficient. People need to shut up about efficiency because they talk about field goal percentage. I'm sorry, she is a good shooter at the worst shot in basketball, which is mid-range. And I'm sorry, no one has ever called a mid-range shooter who doesn't shoot threes efficient. She has like 6% worse true shooting percentage than Caitlin Clark last year, who people call an inefficient shot chucker. Like, her true shooting percentage is not great. Like, she's a very good free throw shooter. And I think the argument can be made that Caitlin Clark or Paige Bueckers this season has been better than Caitlin Clark this season. And that's only because Caitlin Clark has missed half season.
The statistics out of it. Caitlin Clark, who did lead the WNBA in assists as a rookie, by the way. The most dynamic shooter that we've ever seen. She could lead the WNBA. She could lead it in scoring if she wanted to. If she made her priority coming out and leading the WNBA in scoring, believe me, she would. But the way that team is constructed, she is distributing. She still scores a lot because she's that good, but she is focused on distributing.
Paige Bueckers, literally, she goes tween, pull up midi, and people are talking about it's ethical hoops. Man, she just flops, flails. She's a mid-range shooter who flails. She's better.
See just how badly the media has been lying to you and manipulating statistics to fit their agenda. Make sure to comment "Media Exposed" down below, because this rabbit hole goes deeper than you think. What I'm about to show you is going to make your head spin and, honestly, should make you question everything these so-called basketball experts have been telling you about both players over the past several months. The hype machine went into full overdrive once these media clowns started acting like Bueckers was walking on water and performing miracles every single game. Every time she broke one of Clark's records by a single game, they made these grand proclamations and acted like she was rewriting the history books. They portrayed her as some kind of basketball prodigy when she became the fastest to reach 350 points and 100 assists, completely ignoring the context that makes that stat meaningless. As if that somehow erases the fact that Clark averaged more points, rebounds, and assists on significantly better efficiency while facing the most intense defensive scrutiny in league history. They conveniently forgot to mention Clark faced double teams from half court starting in her very first game and had to deal with physical play that bordered on targeting. She played 11 games in 20 days during her rookie stretch, while these same analysts praised her for her durability and mental toughness. The funniest part? Watching the media conveniently forget that Bueckers plays more minutes on a worse team, which naturally inflates counting stats. But hey, who needs context when the media is manufacturing drama for television ratings? The media was so confident in their manufactured narrative that they hyped July 13th like it was Game 7 of the finals, with talking heads making bold predictions about how this would be the changing of the guard moment. 2.1 million people tuned in expecting an epic battle between equals that would settle the debate once and for all. The Dallas Wings were so sure their precious rookie would prove something meaningful that they actually moved the game to American Airlines Center, which holds triple their usual capacity, essentially betting their reputation on Bueckers outplaying Clark. The media was already writing their "Bueckers proves she's the real deal" articles. Social media was buzzing with predictions about how this single game would finally establish the new hierarchy in women's basketball. Twitter, or X, was full of so-called experts making bold claims about how this matchup would expose Clark as overrated and show that Bueckers was always the superior player. Here's the thing about reality, and why it's so beautiful: it has this absolutely nasty habit of completely destroying carefully crafted media narratives and exposing fraudulent analysis for what it really is. What happened next was so brutal and one-sided, I almost felt bad for everyone who bought into the hype and thought this would be competitive. Caitlin Clark showed up and absolutely obliterated their precious storyline in the most savage and methodical way possible, like a masterclass in how to expose fraudulent media narratives. She delivered a 13-assist masterclass that had Bueckers looking completely lost and overwhelmed by the speed and intensity of the game. Meanwhile, Bueckers coughed up 4 turnovers like some confused rookie who forgot how to handle pressure situations and basic ball security. The final score of 102-83 wasn't just a win for the Indiana Fever. It was a complete and total demolition that left absolutely no doubt about who the real superstar is in this league and which player actually deserves all the attention and praise. While Bueckers was desperately trying to pad her stats with meaningless garbage time points once the game was already decided, Clark was already relaxing on the bench with her feet up. She finished with 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals in just 25 minutes of pure basketball artistry that looked effortless. The most embarrassing part for the media's chosen one? Watching her score 21 points that looked impressive on paper, until you realized most of them came when the game was already over. Clark was literally teaching her teammates advanced offensive concepts from the sideline, while Bueckers was still trying to figure out how to stop the bleeding. If you want to talk about efficiency and who really impacts winning basketball, let's discuss how Clark orchestrated a franchise-record 64 first-half points that had the Dallas defense looking completely helpless. She made it look absolutely effortless, compared to Bueckers, who needed 33 minutes of grinding to accomplish what Clark did in 3 quarters while barely breaking a sweat. The defensive numbers tell an even more damning story about what really happened on that court. Clark recorded more steals than Bueckers had assists, which is basically the basketball equivalent of public embarrassment on national television. She was reading passing lanes, disrupting Dallas offensive sets, and creating fast break opportunities, while Bueckers was struggling to even get the ball past half court without turning it over. The assist-to-turnover ratio tells the whole story of this game, with Clark facilitating at an elite level while Bueckers made careless mistakes that directly led to easy fever baskets. This wasn't just a basketball game, it was a complete clinic in how to dominate both ends of the floor while making it look routine and easy. The numbers game that the media used to prop up Bueckers and tear down Clark backfired so spectacularly that it's almost comical at this point. You'd think these analysts would have the integrity to apologize for misleading millions of basketball fans, but instead, they doubled down on their lies and started making even more ridiculous excuses. They blamed everything from team chemistry to coaching philosophy to the phase of the moon for why their golden girl got completely outplayed. As if any of that changes the fundamental fact, Clark's rookie statistics absolutely obliterated Bueckers when you compare apples to apples and account for the vastly different circumstances they each faced. Let's be brutally honest about something the media conveniently forgot to mention during their propaganda campaign: Clark's legendary second-half explosion last year, when she averaged 24 points and 10 assists while shooting nearly 70% true shooting. She was breaking assist records left and right while dragging the Fever from a lottery team to a legitimate playoff contender in just a few months. But sure, let's pretend that Bueckers scoring 17 points per game on a 6-win team that can't even compete with decent opponents is somehow more impressive than Clark's historic transformation of an entire franchise. The cognitive dissonance required to believe this narrative is truly staggering and shows just how desperate these media outlets were to find someone, anyone, who could challenge Clark's dominance. What makes this even more pathetic is how the media kept pushing the efficiency narrative. They ignored that Clark shot better from three, took harder shots, and faced tougher defenses. She did it all while being the primary focus of every game plan in the league. Meanwhile, Bueckers gets to play freely because teams are worried about stopping literally anyone else on that terrible Wings roster. Somehow, the media convinced people this makes her better, rather than highlighting how much easier her job is. The internet went absolutely nuclear after this game. Fans posted receipt after receipt of all the false narratives the media had been pushing. Social media was flooded with side-by-side comparisons showing how badly the media had been lying about basic statistics. Even neutral fans who don't really care about either player called out the media's embarrassingly obvious bias. Bueckers supporters scrambled to make excuses about team differences and coaching situations, as if that explains getting completely outplayed in every facet of the game. The best part? Watching Clark fans, who dealt with months of disrespect, finally get vindication. Highlight after highlight showed their queen doing things Bueckers can only dream of. The memes were absolutely ruthless, with people posting fake ESPN headlines. Things like, Bueckers sets record for most turnovers in losing effort. Losing by 19 points proves Bueckers is ready for stardom. The creativity was off the charts as fans roasted the media for their complete inability to analyze basketball without an agenda, ignoring she needed 15 shots to get there. Compare that to Clark's 13 assists, which created more points for teammates than Bueckers scored for herself. They kept talking about how close the game was in the first quarter, as if that erases it turning into a blowout the moment Clark decided to take over. She reminded everyone why she's the reigning Rookie of the Year and an All-WNBA first-team selection. What makes this situation even more pathetic is how obvious the media's agenda has been from day one. They desperately wanted to find someone who could challenge Clark's supremacy. They wanted to diminish her historic achievements. So, they latched onto Bueckers like she was their savior. They manufactured storylines about rivalry and competition, when there's no competition at all. This game proved it beyond any shadow of a doubt. Instead of admitting they were wrong, these cowards doubled down. They made excuses about everything from schedule difficulty to referee calls, as if any of that changes the fundamental fact that one player is generational and the other is just pretty good. The desperate search for excuses reached comedy levels when analysts claimed Bueckers was facing more defensive attention than Clark. That is so laughably false, it borders on gaslighting. Anyone who's watched both players knows Clark gets doubled from half court. Bueckers operates in single coverage against defenses worried about stopping actual threats. Yet somehow, this gets twisted into evidence that Bueckers faces tougher circumstances, when the opposite is obviously true. The truth the media doesn't want you to know is that this game exposed their entire propaganda campaign. When you strip away the manufactured narratives and cherry-picked statistics, you're left with undeniable reality. Caitlin Clark exists in a completely different tier of basketball excellence compared to everyone else, including Paige Bueckers, who's a solid player caught up in media hype she never asked for. That's what happens when networks need storylines and analysts need content. They create artificial competitions between players who aren't even in the same universe, talent-wise. Clark proved once again why she transcends the sport itself. Her impact goes far beyond anything measurable in basic statistics. She doesn't just play basketball, she transforms it into art while making everyone around her better. She brings millions of fans along for the ride. Meanwhile, Bueckers is playing regular basketball on a team that couldn't make the playoffs even with 5 extra roster spots. Somehow, the media convinced people these situations are comparable. The fan reaction to this obvious media manipulation has been swift and merciless. People are demanding honest coverage instead of manufactured drama and false narratives. Social media is flooded with calls for accountability, as viewers refuse to accept being lied to. The beautiful irony is that by trying to diminish Clark's greatness, the media actually made it more obvious how special she truly is. When you put her next to anyone else, the gap becomes impossible to ignore or explain away. What we witnessed on July 13th wasn't just a basketball game. It was a complete destruction of months of dishonest reporting and agenda-driven analysis. Clark reminded everyone why she's the queen of this league. No amount of media manipulation can change the fundamental reality that some players are built different. They operate on a level others can only dream of reaching. As we look ahead to future matchups, including the upcoming rematch where Clark returns from injury, The only question isn't whether she'll dominate again. It's by how much, and whether the media will finally learn to respect greatness instead of tearing it down. So next time you hear some analyst trying to convince you that Paige Bueckers is somehow superior to Caitlin Clark, just remember July 13th. That's when reality crashed into their fake narrative so hard, they're still picking up the pieces. Maybe now we can get back to honest basketball coverage. Coverage that celebrates excellence instead of manufacturing controversy for clicks. At the end of the day, the truth always wins. And the truth is, Caitlin Clark is generational. Paige Bueckers is pretty good. And the media got caught lying about both of them in the most embarrassing way possible.